Hello, hi, how are you? I just wanted to, before starting my presentation, I'm going to be starting a petition that Teresa Regalia has to go at the end of any conference in the future because no one wants to follow her. She's just that good. She's the queen. So anyway, it's a hard gig up here. So yes, I am Megan. I'm from Edrington, and today I'm going to talk to you as a sort of use case, Edrington Content Lifecycle, with a focus on moving from static to dynamic. So I am the Digital Content Analyst in Edrington, and I sit within the Global Digital Technology team. So firstly, just a little introduction to who Edrington are. Hopefully some of you will know a few of these brands. So we are a premium spirits brand. Our tagline is the home of exceptional spirits. We also have some alcohols that are not whiskey-based, and we have some international brands as well. So we're a global company. And I think as a little introduction into why Edrington is actually quite special and a great place to work is to understand that our business model is quite unique in the industry, and I think for a few industries, in that we are primarily owned by a trust. So back in the 1900s, the Robertson sisters, there were three of them, set up a trust, and that trust is still a principal shareholder in our business. So that is to say that giving back, giving more is a big part of our company. So I hope that this video kind of illustrates that for you. Yeah, so you can see why I'm proud to work for a company such as Edrington. When I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about today, I kind of realized that it just comes down to two things, really. Firstly, what I'm calling the anatomy of our dam. So how our dam is built, taxonomy, how we flex the dam, all of that sort of technical IT aspect. But mostly it comes down to relationships. And when I'm talking about relationships, I mean both digital, so there's been conversations today about plugging your dam into other systems, your downstreams, all of that sort of thing. But mostly what I've learned in my past 3 years at Edrington is the relationships with the people within your company, as well as external people that you're working with, are the most important thing. And that piece around empathy and really understanding what your end user needs from the dam, not just imposing, rules for the sake of it. So looking at the anatomy of our dam, we have a lot of meta properties that are quite specific to our products, so they might be quite unique. And also I wanted to just impress that dam can also be used as a communication tool. So I think that while we've got all of the the computer jargon and things tagged and ID numbers and that sort of thing. What we also focus on at Edrington is having that longer sort of description so that when a user's going in, they really understand what the asset should be used for, what it's optimized for. And as DAM practitioners, I think that is our opportunity to communicate how this asset should actually be used out in the real world. So I just wanted to highlight that piece. Within our DAM, we have a lot of gorgeous imagery of our products. So we would say this is kind of like your inspirational content. We work with world-renowned artists and collaborations. So there's a lot of this in our DAM. But there is also a lot of this. So these are your more practical marketing assets. This comes under things like rules and regulations, such as, in the US, if you want to sell a product, you've got to have a back label shot as part of listing with an e-tailer. One of our most common assets is your bottle and your pack on a white background. It's going to be square. So if we're selling anywhere online in particular, even with your in-stores, these are the kind of assets that are going to be requested by the customer. Of course, we also have multiple brands, so we're looking at assets pertaining to brand stories. So we've got like brand videos, we've got logos, and we've got your more in-store sort of marketing materials as well. So it is quite a diverse range all the way through from quite technical to your aspirational marketing assets as well. So I started Edrington in 2018, but I have some historical data just to say, that the DAM is being used exponentially, and actually at the current rate we're going, we expect this to be more like 3.5 terabytes by the end of the year. A daunting prospect, but it is good to see that our colleagues are understanding the use case of the DAM as a dynamic repository rather than just a static one, as might have been in the past. So when I started in 2018, I started as the Digital Assets Coordinator under the Business Development Services team. So this is basically the people I would be talking to when I first started for anything to do with DAM. So a link in with IT when we're talking about user access rights and directories. The global brand teams, and by extension, their external agencies. So understanding that upstream, where our content is coming from, how to treat it. And also my binder contacts. So our DAM is powered by Binder. In stark contrast to today, this is more what my network looks like. And I think this is what I want to kind of impress to the audience you here today, is that we really have to think about use case from all the way from new product development. So products that don't even exist yet, start thinking about where are the assets that are going to be created for that product going to end up, where are they surfacing, and be involved as much as you can, particularly through new product development, so that you can advise your teams, if this is going to be sold in e-commerce, we need assets that are cropped 1,000 by 1,000 on the white background, et cetera, et cetera. And if it's going to be print work instead, that you can advise them, it needs to be large format, 300 dpi, et cetera as well. So particularly when we look at integrating our DAM with our newly rolled out PIM, Product Information Management System, this becomes super important. So I think in the past year, I've learned so much about the entire business of how we operate by having these conversations and pushing myself into spaces that you probably wouldn't have a DAM contact in, essentially. So I'm going to pricing and I'm like trying to understand, all the logistics around that. Our SAP system, so this, which is an ERP database, understanding how all of our technical data is built into that and how that then links into any assets that are later created, and various contacts in the IT team. Within my team, it's also expanded this year just due to the fact that there is this focus on e-commerce, and particularly out of the pandemic for the spirits industry. At some point, every bar around the world was closed. So we realized that it's not always going to be a dependable source. People started buying on Amazon more and more. And what we've seen is that consumer behavior has continued, even though we're not in lockdown anymore. So we took the steps to get some expertise in-house and start to tackle this in a way that we hadn't before. So within my team, I have Rachel, who's here today, my digital asset assistant, and we also have an e-commerce designer. So having that expertise in-house has really helped reduce the time between brands going out to their external agencies asking for a quick resize, that taking 2 weeks and costing a fortune. We can now turn that over in a couple of days. So we're talking about that speed to market really increasing there as well. A closer tie-in with each global brand team, their external agencies, but not only that, working with all of our markets across the world directly and understanding how they localize assets, how they need to rewrite copy, what kind of assets are more successful in their areas that are not provided just by the global content. So understanding how they localize and where their assets are going to be surfacing as well. So I want to walk you through our PIM integration. So this is a project I've been working on for kind of the past year and a bit now. It docks in quite directly with the DAM as well. So as a content source, we have the DAM and SAPs I mentioned, with also there a nod to the NPD process. So our SAP system will hold all of the technical data, and that's managed by a team called the Master Data Team, and they are actually located out at our bottling plant. So once that physical product starts coming off the line and into development, that's when all of that technical information is logged in SAPs. So we're looking at, what's the weight of the bottle, what's the dimension of the packaging, how many bottles go in a carton, a crate, and so on and so forth. A lot of detail there about the products. What we're then doing is using a unique identifier. In our case, we're using the SKU of the product. So if you can pick something unique within your products to use an ID number, through an API connection, we are marrying all of the product images, lifestyle images, campaign, video, everything else to the technical SAP data using this unique identifier and pulling it through to the PIM using an API. API being application programmable interface, and also can be thought of as basically a digital bridge to select which elements of your source systems are actually pulling through into your PIM, and you can pick and choose and create those product listings to suit your need, essentially. So once this data comes into the PIM, it kickstarts workflows. So this is about governance, and we don't want a market that doesn't sell a particular SKU to be able to go in and manipulate any data or marketing content for a different region. So looking at permissioning profiles by market and creating lists of SKUs that are specific to each market so that people are just seeing the products that they are working with within their zone. So once we've got kind of the raw data coming in that's been married up with all of our digital content, we go out to the global brand managers and we ask them, is there any refinement you want to make? Do you want to rewrite the copy here about the marketing information, the brand story, so that when it surfaces on an e-tail site, it makes the most sense? It is SEO optimized, you've got your keywords, that sort of thing. So once it's done, we can then push that out to the relevant markets within the PIM system, for them to make any localizations, be that complete language translation or just the language used in the UK is maybe not the same as in the US, even though they're both English. It's just that culture is different, consumers have different behavior. So understanding that, and I think that's where we're trying to really empower the markets to localize how they need to, but also provide the global brand teams with that overview of how that data that they are pushing out is actually being used out in markets. And so I think a lot of companies will see this, is that sometimes the information is manipulated, translated, and then they find it on a website out in market 2 years later and notice that actually something's been miscommunicated and maybe they've got the wrong data there. So this gives a really good oversight for all parties involved. And once that's all signed off, we have basically really complete product listings, rich with lots of our gorgeous assets and any assets that are particular to that market as well. So then we can start syndicating this information that we've compiled. So we can do that through catalogs. So in our catalogs, we can pull the required information particular to the market's vendor. And we can set the permissions there. So if we just want this as a reference point, they can go in using a URL and see the content that we're syndicating. Or we can also choose to let them download information. One of the other use cases we've kind of found from this is just around internal communication and education. So if I'm working with someone new and they want to understand a bit more about the Macallan Cherry Oak 18-year-old, I can send them the complete product listing instead of sending them both to the DAM and our other systems to try and find all of the information they can about that one product. When it comes to automation, the channels are within the PIM are the ways we send most of the data out to our e-tailers and third parties, anyone who's receiving the data through our PIM. And the beauty of that is that we can create what's called a readiness report within the PIM. And what this does is has set criteria, so that if any SKU that we're pushing through does not meet that criteria, it will be flagged for enrichment and won't be syndicated until that data is complete. So that really raises confidence from our markets that what they're pushing is the most up-to-date and super complete information to enable us to look great on the digital shelf with our customers. And what we found is that in the past, what would happen is that markets would liaise with distributors or the e-tailers and work in Excel sheets to fill out all of this data every time they wanted to list or delist products. And then they would have to also send them links to the DAM imagery separately. So what we can do is then be very specific with the requirements of a particular vendor, build that into the channel, and we can basically do a data mapping exercise wherein, okay, so you've called this product information code. We know in our system that's SKU code. So let's map that. You'll get that data with the header that suits you as a supplier. And depending on the digital maturity of the partner you're working with, they might have a direct API integration, which means that we can push all that data through and it automatically populates on that user's, on that vendor's own platform quite seamlessly. And if we've done a good job in the data mapping, that's exactly as fast as it can be. SFTPs, of course, we've spoke about that today, Paul. If the vendor, the client, needs you to push that information to a secure location, that's a possibility. And maybe for smaller customers out there, you can just send a URL link and a zip download to our customers as well. So that's kind of as simple as I can kind of make the process. I hope that made sense and I didn't lose you along the way there. So basically, yeah, I just wanted to sum up and kind of impress to you that, yes, how the DAM is built and the taxonomy is super important if it's going to enable any integration relationships between the DAM and any other platform. Make sure you're capturing as much data as you think will be required. We'd much rather have too much data than not enough and face issues down the line. It's hard to retrofit into a taxonomy if you're exploring expansion and integration from the DAM. And that at the heart of it is relationships. For me, the only way really been able to progress the dam from a static repository into this dynamic source is that we've tried to understand how people are using it, what challenges are our colleagues facing when it comes to data transmission between themselves, between external people, really just looking for those holes and explaining as the subject matter experts where you think that a dam and any other connected system could really provide value and solve the problems. So the benefit of all of this is a big one for us, increased consistency and brand touch points. What we want to see is that if you see a listing for one of our products in the UK, it's not that dissimilar to one you would see in China. Obviously, the language is going to be different, but you should be seeing the same high-quality assets, and the tone of voice should resonate. So that integration has really allowed us to pay more attention to this and look out for pitfalls there. So making your dam really robust and rich as a trusted source of truth for assets and product information when combined in the PIM. Scalable and localizable, I spoke about, and empowering the markets. So for them to kind of understand that, yes, global marketing teams are going to dictate what the marketing messages should be around this new product. However, we understand that it needs to change a little bit in order for you to do your job well and sell out in market. Reduce time searching for assets through automation. So one of the markers, I think, for me, if our PIM is being really successful, is I actually expect to see a drop-off in dam users, and that would be a good thing, because it means people are not having to go into the dam, do their searching, downloading, filtering, because the content's already been pushed to where they need it in their downstream. It's going to save a lot of time and eliminate a bit of user frustration as well. So that's something I'm actually hopeful to see. And yeah, the biggest point for me is more cross-functional conversation. Think of your role as ever expanding. You don't have to stay in the little niche of dam. Understand that you are part of a wider business strategy, and start to just reach out and get into conversations that you don't think are relevant, because what you'll soon find is that the pieces fall into place, and you'll find that you can stretch your tech, you'll learn more, you'll challenge yourself more, and there will be more benefits for everyone involved. So that would be my challenge to you for today. Thank you.